Beaming out across the galaxy, this is where conspiracy on the wild side meets the perspective of a lifetime. This is the Free Zone with your host, Freeman.
Hello and welcome to the Free Zone. Well, we are on the threshold of the quantum world, folks. This is a spiritual revolution versus the machine. We're going to look into geoengineered transhumanism that goes beyond everything that you have thought, taking it to the spiritual world, taking it out into our true morality and how we can possibly understand all of this. There's no one better. There's no one more on my frequency, on my wavelength than Elana Freeland. She's a writer, ghostwriter, lecturer. She's researched the deep state, geoengineering, MK Ultra, ritual abuse, targeting invasive electromagnetic weapons, on and on. She is best known for her books Chemtrails, HAARP, and the Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth, and Under an Ionized Sky, From Chemtrails to Space Fence Lockdown. We've had a few really great shows here on the Free Zone, so definitely go back and listen to everything Elana Freeland has said to me, because man, those were some good shows, and we're going to try and top it today. So please welcome to the Free Zone, Elana Freeland.
Hello, Freeman. So glad to be with you. Always fun while we talk about the dark side.
I know, and that's the way we gotta be, to try and take all of this information in, because we're in it. This is it, guys. This is the moment that everybody's been warning about from, the Bible on up, maybe even going back farther. I don't know. But this is it. This is the spiritual revolution of humanity versus the machine. It was a time that was inevitable. Wouldn't you say that, Elana, that this was inevitable, that humans will create robots and sentient AI? I mean, it's just in our nature. It's like we had to do it. I believe that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. You remember, I'm a student of Rudolf Steiner. I remember him also saying, which really shocked me, that one of the most important things that humans would have to do would be to deal with their relationship with their machines. Because of course we've always had technology. It's just we're definitely wired to look for technologies that help us here on the earth, that create war on different scales, for territorial acquisition, for human sacrifice, all sorts of things over the thousands, millions of years that we have been developing here on the planet. But I honestly don't know, and I have a master's in historiography. I'm a historian by trade, but of course I'm delving into a whole lot of subjects because I'm a knowledge junkie. But I honestly don't know if there ever was a time that we had such tiny machines as the nanotechnology, and that's what they are. There's natural nanoparticles that you can find those in the dusty plasma up in space. You can find it all over the planet, in the air, everywhere. But the creation of nanotechnology, of nanobots, nanorobots that are now in the human body, in the human brain, and are set up to be programmed remotely by electromagnetic systems like 5G and 6G. I honestly don't think we have ever had this intimate a relationship with our machines as we do. Can you remember any time, Freeman? I can't.
No. And I mean, if you think about how fast it changed, that I am still the generation of a landline, and I can still walk out of my house without my phone, because I'm still, remember when you walked away from the house and the phone was at home and you had to go listen to the answering machine. So I'm still in that mindset. I can leave my phone at home, but most cannot. It's inconceivable to them, the idea of leaving their tech at home.
Yeah, and I'm like you. I only have a landline because, as I've said many times, I refuse to own two technologies that came straight from the military: the iPhone, the cell phone, and the television. So I've never owned either one of those technologies, but I do have a computer, and that is on the same scale. It's a weapon system as well. And if I weren't a writer and a avid researcher, I might not even own a computer, not because I'm a Luddite, but for me now, it would have to do with maintaining good health and keeping a strong immune system. But I always say to my Rudolf Steiner friends who say that I really shouldn't be on the internet as much as I am, I should give that up. I should be very, very low tech. Um, I, 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 I make a sacrifice for the sake of educating the public about the things I study. That's how I look at it, and I don't think that's BS either. I don't think I'm making up something. I think that is that's my destiny, is to be a communicator in writing, giving talks, and being on radio shows. Uh, that's what I do, because it isn't like everybody will take the time to live without their entertainment, live without vacations and personal life, in order to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the themes of my time. As a spiritual being, I really feel that my main job is to penetrate the time that I chose to live on the planet, and come up with as much as I can, because I honestly believe, and I guess I'll find out someday, that I can take most of this with me, unlike money and jewels and things. But ideas are something totally different. Have you ever had that thought?
Yes, absolutely. I'm an info junkie as well. And in the same vein, my goal when I turn on my computer is turning it off again. So I get everything I can done. Everything's just like, how can I get this thing turned off? But absolutely, ideas are so much bigger, so much larger. And that's why I live life. That's why I go out and I experience. That's why, even as a shy character that I am, I'm here on the air. I go out and I try to have experience. I love to, that's, my soul is going to be fulfilled. And then, yes, I absolutely see myself taking all of this with me.
Yeah, and I because things have gone so far now, and for I was a '60s person, and all these years, decades, I've been yelling and screaming and writing to people to wake up, wake up, wake up. You've got to come to terms with your technology, because otherwise it's going to be running you, and you're not going to have a human life anymore. And when this whole thing of the last 2 years happened, and I think the first time I heard it being said on the internet was by two doctors. One was Tom Cowan, and the other was Dietrich Klinghardt. Both of them were giving interviews, and they said that they quoted Rudolf Steiner saying a 100 years ago that one day there would be a medicine, a vaccine, which would, when taken, would remove all thought of spirit and of being an actual spiritual being. And for me, this is the key as to why I just spent 2.5 years writing the third book, the final book in the trilogy about geoengineering. And this book is called Geoengineered Transhumanism: How the Environment Has Been Weaponized by Chemicals, Electromagnetics, and Nanotechnology for Synthetic Biology. The reason I spent so much time on this is I had seen in each book I was writing in a way, each book I was writing gave birth to the next one, because all sorts of questions come up in while you're writing a book. I eventually ended up at realizing that that nanotechnology I was studying very hard for the second book, Under an Ionized Sky, was actually, I already knew from my work with Clifford Carnicom many years, that we were breathing all this stuff in that was being dumped by jets above us in what people thought were contrails, but were actually signatured as being chemical trails. And those chemical trails were being loaded with things on purpose, some biological, many of them chemical, including lots and lots of tiny, tiny nanoparticles of heavy metals that were highly conductive. I mean, you didn't have to be an Einstein to put two and two together as to what was being planned when you saw what was coming down. And we were breathing, and they would go in the GMO food fields. And we knew that Monsanto had come out with a special seed that was aluminum resistant, because Monsanto is in the same inner circle as all the big pharma corporations that literally have been in charge of the chemical distribution for the last 20 years that we've been undergoing. So, I knew that it had to do with biology, that and biology was my second major in undergrad. But what I didn't know is really what synthetic biology meant. And that's what I dug into starting about 2.5 years ago, in order to see how they were using the environment to load us for some synthetic biology project, which I assumed would be transhumanism, i.e. changing the human genome and making many people transhuman. And bingo, here we are.
Absolutely. And let me take you guys back. And Elana, I was aware and awake around 90s, 91, 93. I started becoming aware of things. And so now just so that you guys are clear on how this all fell, because we were seeing chemtrails in the Middle East. We were seeing them announce them during the Gulf War, saying, as they laid the grids and they showed us the satellite vision of these grids, and they said, we are spraying them with barium and aluminum in order to track insurgents with over the horizon radar. Now, this was during the Gulf War, before it came to America, but we all know things start there and then they come here. So
Right.
I waited, and sure enough, by about 1996, they announced that NATO would be flying in American skies for the first time ever, and it was all over the news. Foreign forces in American skies for the first time. And right at that moment, boy, did we get chemtrails. And all of a sudden, those grids that I was seeing them announce in the Gulf War were in our skies. Now, when this happened, it seemed they didn't possibly, or maybe they changed the formula or something, but when in the 90s, around 96, this stuff was falling to the ground. It was coming in the spider web-like substance, and it was just laying on lawns and laying in places. And anyone that touched it got flu-like symptoms.
And those were the polymers, and they were loaded. Yeah.
And they announced this on the news, that there was a flu-like symptom epidemic. This was back in the 90s. Now, what is a symptom epidemic, right? There's no virus, they said. Just everybody has flu-like symptoms. So there's a flu-like symptom epidemic. And that just blew my mind, because I already knew what was happening. The barium was causing these, and the aluminum and the strontium. And well, so, this is 30 years now, right? And then now we're finding the parasites in the vaccine that are made of aluminum and bromide. This synthetic biology that numerous doctors now, it's at least 4 openly coming forward with I can't say that word, microscopy, looking at these things under electron microscopes and coming up with not only the parasites that look like crazy things out of Stranger Things, you know, the Mind Flayer or Cthulhu or something of that fact, you know, these long leg head weird things that are growing, but they are synthetic biology. They are combined with metal and biology. So it's right there in front of us now coming out. So I wanted to say to folks like, realize that during 2020, the death count of the planet did not rise a single percent. There was no pandemic. There was no epidemic. I mean, as far as death toll goes, it didn't even show up on the radar. But I guarantee you, folks, that 2022 is going to be completely different. And that's because, you know, they announced that 6.66 billion people got the vax. 6.66.
Yeah, gee whiz. I wonder how they came up with that.
Like, what the hell, guys? So we're dealing with, you know, so let's get into this. Geoengineered transhumanism is as much of the title I got written down for the new book. Is the idea that this isn't just about these parasites being infected into it. These parasites seem to be eggs that grow in graphene, on graphene tape and things of that nature. Like some of the scientists have taken and put them in a better element. And then also these parasites are showing up in the blood samples and things of that nature. But yet there's been 30 years of preparation for this as we've all been breathing in these chemtrails and things. So where do you want to go from there?
Well, we could go back to, I just want to mention that Morgellons is right in here. I mean, when you saw the videos coming out several months ago of the masks and the PCR swab tests, you saw these black filaments. And of course, I'd need to do a microscope test on it and that sort of thing. But it certainly looked like the way Morgellons looked when Clifford Carnicom was studying that 3 decades ago.
And people are seeing these in the masks as well. Just throw that in.
Yeah, in the masks. And also we know from Celeste Solom, the former FEMA employee, she has come out with a lot of material, and I learned from her first. She actually frequents a military site. I think it's called the Monkey Wrench or the Monkey something, and by the U.S. Army. So I was interested in her talking about hydrogel, and in the hydrogel was graphene. She was very clear on that several months ago before we ever began to see the graphene and how creepy it really is as it begins to move according to frequency. So we've been injected. I'm not injected, by the way, but as a human race, we now are facing the third delivery system, is how I present it in the book. The first delivery system is the chemical trails. The second delivery system is the GMO foods. And the third delivery system is the vaccines. And now we're seeing a whole other breed of vaccine, which is really not the right term. Let's call it a jab. Let's call it an inoculation.
Yeah, that needs to be made so much more clear.
Yeah, gene therapy. And that's what is going on now, that transhumanism is front and center before us now. And the idea of what is in those, yes, there are these strange creatures. As I've said many, many times, if they can piggyback it onto a vaccine, they will. And at the same time, this all correlates with whatever is being dumped into the environment. For example, it is well known among people following geoengineering that the graphene is also a miracle element in the the snow and ice that we now are experiencing, which is not real snow and not real ice. And it's nucleated, and the graphene really helps that process of nucleation. And so we already have been taking in graphene, but not on the scale that the vaccinated are taking it in. So that obviously, given how magnetic it is, it's a lot like, it's like magnetite on steroids. And magnetite is something that has increased in our brains as well, because that's being dropped from above. So what I'm getting at here, and let's cut to the chase, this is all intentional. This is not just sort of a sidebar and side effects to a military program. And, oh, gee, you have to break a few eggs in order to make an omelet kind of thinking. No, this is purposeful. This has to do with transhumanism, with the singularity, and it has to do with changing us from the genetics up. And that's why, in my opinion, why they are pushing so heavily and making people lose their jobs. And yes, the economy is certainly part of it. They're, ordo ab chaos, say the Satanists, order out of chaos. And so you create chaos when you want a big change, like the global reset, and at the same time, you utilize that for your own other purposes. I mean, this is all at so many levels. My head has been spinning for months in keeping up with how extraordinarily they have been pursuing this at this juncture of 2021. And so the intentionality is important for us to understand, so that we realize we are under assault as a human species. And yes, the planet is too, absolutely. And Rudolf Steiner taught me years ago in his lectures that the planet Earth and the human being, we are both spiritual beings, and we are both connected to each other. And these these zero population people who blame humanity for every sin under the sun and moon and planets are basically wrong, because the human being is actually very connected to this planet. And we love this planet. This planet loves us, despite the fact that some of us are certainly not admirable and are obviously involved in something anti-human. And I guess if I were to say, my simple definition of evil is anything that is anti-human. And that may sound self-centered and, like I think I'm the only thing in the universe. But the point here is that that there is an evil which is really geared to destroying the human being. And Rudolf Steiner points out many types of entities that do this. And I think I say on just about every radio show I'm on, because I think it's crucial, is that if you think about your humanity, and that may be one of the really good things that's coming out of this, Freeman, is it's forcing people to come to terms with what it means to be human. It's not that you have a head and 2 arms, 2 legs, and a torso. No, being human has something very unique and conscious and spiritual about it. And so if we really look at what evil is, it hates humanity. Because why? Well, we're weak, we're frail, we're evolving, we're definitely not a finished product. And a lot of us are dependent too much on others for guidance, for what we think of ourselves, or which direction we think we should go in our brief life here on the earth each time, however you want to look at it. But if you look at history, there are certain human beings who have lived that certainly children who have not been marred and trashed by a culture that hates humanity, know that some people have been extraordinarily admirable, like the stories of Parsifal, the stories of saints, the stories of, Martin Luther King. I mean, wherever you look, there are these people that we admire, and we in a way love them, even though we don't know them. We love them because they hold a candle, they hold a light up for us as we struggle with our passions, our desires, our family karma, our national karma, our racial karma, our gender karma, whatever it is, as we struggle with all these things we have to do when we come to planet Earth for each lifetime. We want to develop a true humanity, and we're not going to be able to do that if we have software in us that is remotely triggering us to be a certain type of slave caste. And that's why I've been fighting so hard. I see it. I see that we may now be undergoing what Steiner talks about, which I think he thought was pretty far in the future, but is coming very early. And that might be another definition of evil, is that we're splitting the humanity. And some humans are now heading toward becoming transhumans. And other humans are struggling, losing their jobs, having split families. Nobody will talk to them. They can't go to family reunions. They can't go kiss babies. However you want to see it, there's a split happening right now in my lifetime. I can't believe I lived long enough to see this, because I've known for years that it would come, but I thought it was far in the future, like I thought a lot of this was.
Yep. I'm right there with you. Yeah, I really thought I wouldn't make it. That I'd finally be gone, but no, I'm here for it, and
Yeah,
I'm glad to be, because
me
like you
too.
say, we
Yeah.
stand up, and we don't have this fear of losing everything, because we've already lost everything. It's already, this is already a reality.
Mhm.
So, that's for me. I don't have any fear of losing everything, mostly because I lived most of my adult life without everything and had the most wonderful life I could have possibly imagine. It's kind of the opposite of what they say when they say you'll have nothing and you'll be happy. I actually did live that, and I was happy, but not in the way that they're putting it out.
Exactly. And you love knowledge. I mean,
Yes.
not that knowledge will necessarily give you power and power over yourself, but I can honestly say that delving into many corners of your human experience while you're here on the earth is just fantastic, because you see how rich the having a human life is. It's not about money rich. It's about experiences, like you say, and that's and I'm so thrilled to hear you say that you too are thrilled to be here for this, because I didn't think it would come in my lifetime, and I've looked to this day since the 60s. I remember people in the 60s saying, as we're facing the CIA and bad drugs in the streets and the deaths of all our rock stars and our political heroes, we would say, well, we'd better, start storing lentils and peas and brown rice, because the establishment is not going to last. It's coming down. And we all knew it would come down. But a lot of people thought it would happen very soon, and I never did. And now that I see it happening, the establishment coming down, there will be no return to what was normal of yesterday. At the same time, we see the peril in this. And at that time, I didn't know, because I was just thinking politically back then. I wasn't thinking biologically. I wasn't thinking genetically or mind control wise. I didn't know about any of that that lay in my future. And yet I've spent time studying all those things so that I could understand my time and what it is to be here now and how I can serve. And that's really my appeal to people. I know a lot of people are facing a lot of depression and the change of lifestyle and many things. But this is also, as the Chinese say, the character for crisis is on the one hand danger, on the other hand opportunity. This is truly an opportunity to grow and make a stand for your humanity and your lifetime. And I'm just so thrilled that I have people like you too, Freeman, who we're all sort of attuned to what we're facing now. And then you look around and yes, you see all these lemmings who have the face diaper on and all that stuff. I don't know what the difference between them and me is in any sense of a realistic way and something I could prove, but obviously we are going in different directions. No question about that.
Yeah, it's those that watch the news and those that don't.
That have TVs, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. I did want to throw a couple of news articles into our story here that are tied to this whole thing. So this from the news Medical Life Sciences. Researchers reveal the mechanism of artificial chromosome formation in embryos of transparent nematodes. So this is a research team led by Dr. Karen Wing-Ying Yuan, the associate professor at the School of Biological Sciences at the University of Hong Kong, revealed the mechanism of artificial chromosome formation in the embryos of nematodes. And basically what they are saying is that when they introduce this, that it actually becomes its own DNA strand. So it's
synthetic. It's synthetic DNA.
Yeah. So, okay. So it says essentially our DNA is packaged meticulously by proteins that make up the chromatin. If DNA were like a thread, these proteins are the spools that the DNA thread winds around and keep itself organized. And however, what happens when a foreign naked DNA thread with no spool is introduced in the environment? Interestingly, the cell is equipped to supply this new thread with its own self-made spools, enabling this naked DNA thread to be stably maintained in the cellular environment as part of the new cell repertoire. And we call this process artificial chromosome formation. And
now, did they at all mention in this article the word nanobot or nanotechnology or nanoparticles?
Let's do it quick.
Because this is not in the future. This is already being done, and not just with nematodes either. That's part of what people are going to go through who now have been vaccinated, is that a lot of what they are is going to now become synthetic, including their chromosomes.
So there we have that. And then on other news, the NASA International Space Station National Lab research announcement. In space production research, announcement focused on biomanufacturing leveraging on the International Space Station. The purpose of this International Space Station National Lab research announcement is to solicit proposals for applied research and development seeking to demonstrate space-based biomanufacturing activities in microgravity. So projects designed to demonstrate the benefits of stem cell expansion or stem cell research in space for therapeutic applications on Earth, projects designed to demonstrate an organoid culture or multicellular culture system in space to model human disease and or test therapeutics for the treatment of human disease on Earth, or projects to demonstrate or develop and demonstrate a system for in-space biofabrication of tissues or other biocompatible materials for applications on Earth. So that.
Yes, and that is very interesting to me because someone earthbound might say, well, why are they doing all that up in space? Because they have found out that what happens in space is completely different from what happens down here. And they are increasingly interested in forming what they call inorganic life forms. And that's why what I thought of when all of this happened regarding what was found in the serums, these little creatures that like the Hydra. It appears that I mean it could be, and remember each batch of serum going out to the public for inoculations of this gene material is each one of those is it's in a different batch, and they're tracking by means of the graphene oxide and other ways all the batches in order to see what happens. They have hundreds of experiments, if not thousands, operating now in vivo in the human body. And I'll bet a lot of these, I'll bet at least some of them, are from what has been derived from space experiments and then has been piggybacked into the inoculation. I'll bet you there's a lot because they're interested in cross species. Clifford Carnicom discovered that years ago in the Morgellons, that when he was able to penetrate the filament that we call Morgellons, the black looking filament, he could get inside. There's organs in there. There's entities that when the Morgellons goes into the body, is breathed in or eaten or drunk, it will then unlock, you know, it'll unpack what's inside. And a lot of what is in them has to do with, yes, reproduction or replication, and other aspects of forming a scaffolding system in the body. And that has to do with what Celeste Solum described in the hydrogel, the graphene oxide, et cetera, the scaffolding that I think Elon Musk called, what did he call it? A neural mesh. This scaffolding is a network by which a whole communication system will happen. And that's kind of what's going on too with these people is, remember all the satellites, remember a big batch of the Elon Musk satellite Starlink went up 3 weeks in advance of what happened in Wuhan way back when. And those satellites, it all has to do with the space fence that I described in the second book of, you have we're sandwiched between the space network and what's down here on the earth, and there's a lot down here. So then with nanotechnology making up the difference between the two, nano sensors, nano computers, nano everything. So what we have now is when they do things in space and then put them in the vaccines, and people are then inoculated with these gene substances, they too are now in the network. They too are now in the space fence lockdown. And they're not only communications, surveillance, all that stuff. That's peanuts compared to what this means. What it really means is digital biology, that diseases can be amped up and activated in all of the inoculated, because they've moved molecular biology into digital biology. So all they need is the frequency. They need the evoked potential of the disease, exact, very exact. And then it'll rise like Lazarus out of these people and go into action. And then it appears from some of the gossip that goes on around this, I'm not sure quite how much of it is true, is that there's this shedding this shedding, spreading that happens from the inoculated. And that will play very nicely for the big pharma corporations into resurrecting some of these diseases in people who are inoculated and them spreading it wherever they go. So, I see the space thing that you read. I mean, this is the way it is now, Freeman, and I know you know this. You read an article on space, and there you can tell if you have a backlog of data from and geoengineering, you can tell that there's a whole lot missing in this article. It's just for the public, some pablum for the public to swallow, to think that their tax dollars are going toward cool stuff, when really you have to fill in what's missing between the lines. And that's what I've gotten much better at with each book. I get better and better to be able to understand what they're really talking about, and also if there's any subliminal language going on for their brothers to know what they're up to. Does that make sense? Does that make sense what I just said?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
okay.
They definitely put the code in there for those in the know to know what to look for. They definitely throw in signs and symbols for those Freemasons to know when to look. That certain piracies I saw that had Masonic code and things that would always allow them to know. But what this reminded me of was the last two space shuttle missions, the final two space shuttle missions, which they reversed. It was 133 and 134, but 133 came after 134. I guess because, again, symbolism, they wanted the space shuttle to end on 33 instead of 34. But the 34 was actually a specialized space shuttle mission that had to have a special congressional approval because there were no more space shuttle missions going to happen, but they made this one happen. And this was, and on board of that, they brought human stem cells for cloning on the International Space Station,
right,
and earthworms. And I covered this when it happened back on the Free Zone when I was on Oracle back in the day when, space shuttles were still launching and I was still on the air. It was so bizarre, but I guess where I had forgotten about that till we started talking about this part about the fact that they also had stem cells and earthworms on there.
Right.
And I can't remember exactly what the earthworms were doing, but there was another thing aboard this space shuttle 134. Now, this was piloted by Mark Kelly, who is one of the twins that have been in space. Mark and his brother are the only two siblings to ever go into space, but they also happen to be identical twins. And Mark Kelly is married to Gabrielle Giffords, and he's now a senator pushing gun laws and all of this because as soon as he got back from space, he retired from NASA. But when he went up into the International Space Station on STS-134, they delivered the alpha magnetic spectrometer, something I have talked about over and over and over again on my show because it doesn't get enough hype. This was a joint project with the Vatican, the CERN, and NASA, right?
Wow.
So they had to make a special space shuttle launch to get this up there. Just remember that it wasn't going to happen. They've been trying to get this thing on the International Space Station forever, and they couldn't. But they finally did through a special congressional hearing. And this had a device, the alpha magnetic spectrometer is a device that sees the anti-universe, but it uses the antimatter annihilation detector made by a corporation known as Grawlator. And I had talked about this in my lectures, Aliens from Hell and a few others. And I put their corporate logo up there, which was a reptilian claw, because who could not make, comments about that, right? So they've got a device on the International Space Station that is a joint project of CERN and the Vatican, and it sees the anti-universe and it's flown up by the first twin. There's all kinds of red flags going off here. So before our show, I decided I would go and look this up so that I could, double check on some of the details and some of the things. And guess what? Grawlator has vanished from the internet.
Wow.
You cannot find it. I was like, as I'm Googling it and doing every other search engine I had, the only time you'll find Grawlator come up is on FreemanTV.com on my article about space faction or science fiction. And I'll include the links here for you guys in the show notes. But if you can find it, let me know, because Grawlator seems to have just vanished from this whole scenario, and from the World Wide Web. They have been scrubbed. And I mean, I have their corporate logo. I had, I was tracking the company. I was looking at it, all of that back when I was doing the lectures on this, and now it's gone.
Do you think right away, what I thought is that it went black? Do you think that's what happened?
Yeah. I think it was maybe too obvious. Maybe it was because I was bringing it up in my lectures. I don't know.
Yeah,
But,
could
yeah.
be. Wow.
I don't ever think I'm that powerful, but sometimes I am.
And what is Grawlator again? What is a Grawlator?
A Grawlator is like a dinosaur. So
Like a
that's why
Stegosaurus or something like that?
Let me get the proper because hold on, I'm typing here. They let's see, common type, small three-toed prints that they find from bipedal theropod dinosaurs.
So it's the prints themselves.
Grawlator type footprints. Yeah.
But Grawlator type, does that mean the Grawlator is a type of footprint or a type of dinosaur?
It's an ichnogenous genus, which covers a common type of small three-toed print. So I guess it's just the print made by a variety of bipedal.
Yeah, those little ones that look
dinosaurs.
like sort of like kangaroos. Yeah. Grawlator.
And if I look up Grawlator antimatter annihilation detector, which probably should just bring you right to them. Not there.
Not there, gone.
Just gone. I'm the last source. And so now, of course, nobody's going to believe me. Because they can't find it. But it's Science Fiction or the Road to Immortality was the article I wrote on it. And I sent that to you for you to check out later. Or Steve did. I'm looking now, and it's just not. It's not there at all. I'm looking up Grawlator and antimatter, and it's just not there anymore.
Can you send me that again? I don't remember it. I must have spaced that out.
All right, I will.
If you still got it, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's right there on FreemanTV.com. If you do a search for science fiction or the road to immortality, and of course I'll have it linked in the show notes for this show so that you guys can see that. And I have their corporate logo in there in the article and everything for you to see. So it's gone. It's just gone. Yeah.
Wow.
And meanwhile, CERN has announced that they found a new physicists may have discovered a new force of nature in the Large Hadron Collider experiment, and they're talking about what do they call beauty quarks? Beauty quarks that are supposed to, but these are beauty quarks. So they say there are six flavors of quarks, dubbed up, or let's see, up. So you got your up quark, your down quark, your strange quark, your charm quark, which is one of the recent ones that came up that they had just discovered, and then the beauty or bottom quark, or truth and top quark. Yeah, and beauty quarks are unstable, living an average of just 1.5 trillionth of a second before decaying. But for some reason, they're not decaying the way that they intend to, or that they had expected to. So they're saying this is a new force in nature that we've now discovered, but we have no idea what it means.
See, now for CERN, I would love to pick the brain of Anthony Patch, because Anthony Patch is really super on CERN. Unfortunately, I've lost contact with him, and when I've tried to regain it, it hasn't worked. But I would highly recommend him, Freeman, for CERN.
Yeah. All right, we'll get that. Well, let's go ahead and give props to good old Steve Mercer then, for he'll be the one that would be doing this for me. And Steve is the man behind the scene here, the associate producer at FreemanTV.com. Steve Mercer, you can always contact Steve, producer Steve at FreemanTV.com, to get any guests that you want on. Let him know. He's the one that keeps me going, and I'm so thankful of Steve. So I always have to give him love on the air. Let him know that I'm so thankful.
So, so can I talk about how people can get the book, blah, blah, blah?
That is exactly what we are going to talk about.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. It's really simple. For the people wondering the status of the book now, of the Geoengineered Transhumanism book, number 3, and my last book on geoengineering, I swear it is. You're my witness, Freeman.
That's a big one.
It is 690 pages, 60 illustrations. It's a tome, and it's also a handbook to survive the smart city, the smart hospitals, and what's coming down from the sky, and what's in the jabs, etc. It's at the publishers now, finally, and it should be out and with the distributorships like Amazon within 2 weeks. If you wanted to, if you perchance were one of the people who pre-ordered it, those will be going out within the week. Otherwise, there are no pre-orders available now. So it's happening, and boy, it was a long pregnancy, and the baby, I guess, is really out now, and I'm very happy about that, because this was quite a tour de force, and literally, when I say 2.5 years, I'm a very obsessive kind of personality, and I literally worked just about every day of those 2.5 years, all day long, on research and studying the science in order to be able to write about it. So I'm very happy I'm done. Yay!
Yes.
And for the other books, you can get those at Amazon, or you can write Feral House directly and get them from Feral House. And then I have my other series, which is a completely fictional series, but really is sort of is history disguised as fiction. The Sub Rosa America series of 4 books, 1,300 pages, about America and what's happened to it since John Kennedy's assassination. And I, it has a sort of cult following of maybe a few hundred people. I've never really sold it because I started writing the geoengineering books when I was still getting the sort of automatic writing, speed writing of the Sub Rosa America, and never really have taken the time to talk just about them because of years. But they are, to me, they belong right next to Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States of America. They are history books. They are going into the deep belly. That's what Sub Rosa means, the underbelly of American politics. And I think I have an 80-page PDF on my ElanaFreeland.com blog site, which is some of the books, not all, some of the books I read in order to write those books.
Oh, nice. Yeah, all the resource material to get that in.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And folks, we're going to get deep into the Sub Rosa series in the members section. So if you haven't, come over to FreemanTV.com and subscribe. Please do. It's it really helps everything keep, well, it's the only way the show keeps going. So it's up to you guys. Not only do I rely on you for that, but also to spread the message, because I've been banned from every social network out there other than Twitter, where you can find me at FreemanTV if you want to follow along. Although, it's just so hard to even post anything these days into social networks. Maybe I'll have to get on Gab and join you there, Lana. Yeah. And start going into that. But I hate social marketing or social networking or marketing, either one. So Yeah, I leave it up to you guys to please spread the word, allow it, people know that this show is on every podcast player out there. So if you're on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, any of them, Android, Google, they're all there. You will find the Free Zone with Freeman Fly. Just give it a search and tell your friends to check it out, because this is where you're going to get the morality story that goes along with our machine age. Something that's very important to understand the spiritual aspects of where we're at in this machine age, because it's not just it's not just our bodies or just the mechanics. It's everything. It's the spiritual life of planet Earth. So geoengineered transhumanism, you published this one on your own, and
Yes.
but it will be available on Amazon.
Yes, it looks like it's going to be available in a lot of places. I'm going through Ingram Spark, which I've never used before, and this is all new to me, which is why it's been delayed a few months because of all the work that it takes to format and all of that. It's been an amazing journey, I think I'm happy that I'm on my own, just to have this experience of doing a big book on your own, finding the right people that you can pay, and then you will probably make that money back. In my case, I had a big enough fan base that I felt that Feral House and I felt that I could go on my own. So I'm very grateful to them for having the confidence in me and letting me go.
That's awesome. And I believe it. Yeah. You are tireless, as I say all the time when we have you on here. So just a couple other things that I had in my notes just to throw out there. William Shatner, the oldest man in space, 90 years old, launched upon the Blue Origin penis or rocket. If it looked like a penis, I don't know. He really did. He got 10 minutes in space and came back to Earth, and
for millions of dollars, I'm sure.
Yes. And then announced that he saw the fragility of Earth and that we need to prepare for the great catastrophe, the catastrophic event coming. He did not make any bones about that after his space trip and crying. So I thought that was kind of fascinating.
He didn't give any details about that catastrophe coming?
No. He just said, well, I watched the whole thing, and when he launched, and it was about a 10-minute flight, and then you go up into space, technically, and out of gravity, and then just come right back down again. And he said when he broke into the black of space that it was death, that he saw that was death, and that below him was life. But then he kind of crossed that again and said below him was death, and it was kind of confusing when he came back, because he was really moved and crying throughout this. But then he went on a news broadcast and announced that when he looked down at this fragility of life on Earth, that he had to prepare for the great catastrophic event coming.
Oh my gosh.
So again, into the programming of this end of the world, as they continually try to tell us it's coming.
Yeah.
And then the other one, of course, was the China hypersonic rocket that orbited the planet, and I guess they had two of them. They're basing these things on much of what America's doing with the the X-37B, the mini space shuttle, the robotic space plane orbiting our planet, doing all kinds of magnetic or microwave transmissions to Earth using the sun. Very strange things. So just felt like I needed to throw those in here.
And sometimes the X-37B or the TR-3B can be seen in the plasma cloud cover in our skies, because we don't have any real clouds like we had 50 years ago anymore. We simply have plasma clouds, and they can be seen. There are people that are watching it. One site I know of, very interesting photographs people are taking. It's called "What Is in Our Skies," and it's fascinating because I can see them now and then. I can see the bow. I can see a bow of some sort of exotic propulsion craft, but because I know that of the TR-3B and the X-37B, that we have this technology that is that a lot of people attribute to aliens and off planet. Not so, not so. Though I'm not saying there isn't more. It's just that I concentrate on what is here.
Right. What we can show, what we can know. It's enough, guys. You don't have to
It
go into
really
any
is.
sort of like weirdness to find the weirdness. It's all right here in front of us. Yeah, yeah. That's always something to me is I'm like, no, what I'm telling you, you can go look up. I'm not talking about some secret space program. I'm not talking about things that are in the no, it's right there. There's articles, there's news. I have an entire section on the website on Space War News. It's real, guys. This is all here. We don't need to go into flights of fancy to try and say what's happening because it's right in front of our faces as we look at these bizarre creatures coming out of the vials of gene therapy jabs, that are biosynthetic entities that seem to be moving and looking at the technicians as they're looking at them through the
They're conscious.
electromicroscope. Oh my God, guys.
Conscious.
I
Yes,
mean,
they
this
are.
is it. This is it. And somebody even pointed out to me that in the Stranger Things, now, in Stranger Things, the TV series, Netflix, of course, that should put a big red flag too, just the fact that it's Netflix. But Stranger Things, I had forgotten this part of it, but that the child had actually been had ingested the mind flayer or and what was that? The demigorgon, and he vomited it up, and it was like a black goo. And so even into these stories that are based on MK Ultra's high science and the lead character 11, of course, back to that symbolism of the 11, but they showed us again, just as in X-Files, where there weren't actually extraterrestrials. There was black goo that came up from Antarctica and infested people, and then the aliens burst out of them. Most people don't catch that until you see, I guess, the movie, really get into it. But yet there were never any aliens on the X-File. They were actually this black goo. So again and again and again, this story has been implanted into our minds, has been projected out there for us to see, because that is their spiritual tactics, is to show you what they're going to do. This is so that you come of your own free will and accord. And that's the main spiritual factor of this entire situation, is they have to get your free will agreement to do it.
Yeah. Yes. Revelation of the method. Yes, yes.
So guys, it's all real. It's all happening. And next year is going to be scarier than this Halloween. And I'm sorry to be the one to announce that, but everything that we had feared throughout 2020 is going to start becoming a reality in 2022. I'm certain of it. So, all right. Oh, and final news, the chemtrail music video that I had with Flo White and Greg Reese, which was so much fun. The video is just so much fun. It has been removed from the World Wide Web as hate speech, just so that you know. Even though the video literally ends with the words "We love you," yes, it has been removed from the internet as hate speech. So if any of you are looking for that chemtrails music video by Flo White, well, let me know if you find it, along with Grawlater. See if any of these things still exist in our segmented, censored world. So, but as far as I know, it has been removed totally for hate speech. So we're going to take this thing on over into the members section, get deeper into Sub Rosa, because we haven't really dug into that here yet. And I, being on the same frequency with you, Elana, on this whole space war and the ideas of the synthetic biology, these are things that are on our minds in the sentient world simulation. The idea that we have a recipe for hell on earth, folks, and you just take patent 666, which is a patent for body activity cryptocurrency made by, of course, Bill Gates. You create add a little digital twin with an in silico child's brain and AI using synthetic DNA storage, and combine this with the human by adding graphene oxide into our system with CRISPR technologies, and then sprinkle in some smart dust, and you have the perfect recipe for hell on earth. Just sit back and gather your universal basic income and enjoy.
Gosh.
I know. It's all true, guys.
So true.
All right. Geez, that made me. What the other thing, just still on this topic, is the idea that ivermectin is a blood dewormer. It kills parasites, and so maybe that's why they're so anti-ivermectin, right?
Oh, wow. That's a good thought.
Yeah, it just came to me. I was like, wait a minute. Maybe this is why they want to deal with all that. But yes, the sentient world simulation is happening, folks. Your digital twin does exist, and synthetic biology is taking over the world. So this is the threshold of our quantum nanotech that's coming. So let's get this spiritual revolution going against the machine, because that's all that's going to do it. And you are now free to move about the building and do whatever you wish to do, because your future no longer exists. So just enjoy it instead, right? Did you see that human pig hybrid?
Say it again. Which
The human pig hybrid that they showed on InfoWars?
Oh yeah, but I've got something way better than that.
No way. What?
Well, I'll send it to you.
Okay. All right. And I'll include it, guys, when we get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where we're at, folks. So yeah, welcome to the beast system, and know that you are more powerful than they ever will be, and that your soul is the true potency in all of this. It doesn't require you going down, protesting, doing any of those things. It just requires you being as human as you possibly can.
Yes.
So thank you all, and we're going to move it into the members section. So I hope you'll come over and join us, and we'll see the rest of you next week.